Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Jason Hunt here, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning for news, the week's headlines in science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic books, video games, plus Comic-Con updates and the weather, and the occasional interview along the way. We call it Good Morning Multiverse. We hope you join us every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, right here on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
Hi, and welcome to the Kickstarter. I am Roland Mann, and I'm the chief cook and bottle washer at Silverline Comics, a genre-spanning independent comic and graphic novel publisher. And I'm here to tell you about our Kickstarter number 20! 20! Can you believe we've done 20 Kickstarters? That's right, 20 Kickstarters. We have successfully funded and shipped 20 Kickstarters. That's 20. That means we are making comic books. And I'm here to tell you about our next batch of Kickstarter comics that you know you want to support it if you can. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let Brent Larson tell you about Kalis. Take it away, Brent.
Okay, we'll finally get to see how the story ends. Wait a minute. That's it? A tree floating in space? That's so weird.
Hi, I'm Brent Larson. You may remember me from such creator-owned comics as Kalis. Some of you at the end of the story thought, this is no way for a story to end, and I agree, which is why I'm excited to announce that in September we will be kickstarting Kalis Volume 2. It'll tell more of the story of where Scott Anders actually has been, why he wants to go back, what's the CIA doing in the meantime, and who is the mysterious group that's trying to keep him here on Earth. It's very exciting, the art is wonderful, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So thanks for your support, and we'll see you in the comics.
Thank you, Brent. And now here's Rob Davis to tell us about Twilight Grim.
20 years ago, the city of Hallowed Heights was nearly destroyed as the result of warfare between humans and vampires. In its aftermath, the two factions forged a most unusual peace plan. A high and heavily guarded wall now splits the two sides of the city. On one side of the wall reside the middle and upper classes of humans. It is clean, beautiful, and safe. On the other side of the wall, where a teenaged petty thief named Susie Q has just been exiled, lies the darkest and most horrible ghetto imaginable. Here, amongst squalor and vice, dwell the poor, the homeless, the forgotten, and the vampires. Led by the family of Gregor Radovic. As long as the vampires stay on their side of the wall, the humans on the other side are willing to pretend they don't exist and let them rule over this so-called blood zone as they see fit. This includes turning a blind eye as the vampires feast upon the zone's human inhabitants. Amidst rumors that the long-held truce may be unraveling, there's no human law in the blood zone, save for that dispensed by a mysterious and violent young man who has appointed himself its sole guardian from the depredations of the vampires. His name is Twilight Grim.
Thank you, Rob. We've also got Sirens #2 and Scary Book #1, which is part of our remix line. You're going to love those. Horror goes in with our Silverline Horror Extravaganza. So, back it if you can. If you can't back it, we get it. We're in an inflation economy. You can share it. Tell all the people you know who love comic books that we make comic books and we ship them out, because obviously this is Kickstarter #20. And until then, remember to make mine Silverline.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Blast.
And welcome everybody to the show. I am RJ Carter, the senior managing editor here at criticalblast.com, chief envelope licker for Critical Blast Logistics, myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, and I will answer the phone and help you through your data issues with your crowdfunder with my 35 years of IT and database design experience with Critical Blast Consulting. Tonight kicks off another Silverline Extravaganza week. We are here Monday through Wednesday with somebody from Silverline every single night. And tonight is Barb Kaalberg. Am I saying that right? Kaalberg?
You are Kaalberg, yeah.
Oh, I got it right the first time. I shouldn't have second guessed myself.
Not many people do, but I'll answer to anything. I'll answer to "Hey you," you know.
You know, I'm going to name a kid that someday.
Hey,
Actually, I'm 55. I'm not naming any kids anything except
I'm a
oops.
grandmother, so yeah. No more kids for me. I've had mine.
Yeah. So you are the colorist on the Sirens book. That's the highlight
It's
of
one of the
tonight.
remixes, yeah. We have got several black and white comics from the 90s that we are coloring and re-releasing. We're calling them remixes. And Sirens is the one that I'm working on. I've been an inker for over 30 years. And about 3 years ago, I hit 60. And I decided that I wanted to stretch my wings. So,
It's about time.
yep. You're never too old to learn, for an old dog to learn new tricks. So bought myself an iPad, downloaded a $10 Procreate app, and taught myself digital art. I'd never done digital art in my life. But I have found that I prefer digital inking now because it's a little easier and faster, easier on the eyes at this point in my life because I can zoom out. And I have just the faintest hint of a tremor in my hand. So inking with a brush gets more difficult, but you set the stabilizer on your iPad and no problem at all.
Yeah, and the other thing you get with doing that is the undo button. Like,
yeah, that too.
Don't like that line.
The drawback is I don't have any original art to sell. Once the current batch I have is done, I no longer will have any original art to sell at shows. So I've got a pretty hefty stack, so it's going to take me a while to get through all that.
And we don't really see comics now these days with heavy blacks the way we used to see in the 70s and 80s, which was generally because the inker slopped it and like, okay, well, that's going to be in shadow. We'll just color the whole area here and black it out.
Well, not only that, but I think these days they rely more on the color than the inks.
Yeah. I remember, I think some of the first books I saw that were not inked, but were straight colored. There was a George Perez cover to New Teen Titans, one of the annuals. And it really stood out because you didn't need to ink it so much to get the copiers to pick up the data. The technology had surpassed that to where it didn't need to be so bold. I still like it inked. I like the look of it. But
I love blacks. Obviously, I've been an inker for 30 years. I can remember doing black and white books and color books. So, I've been in both worlds, and I still prefer doing heavy duty blacks. I mean, look at Steranko when he does it, the noir look. You can't even beat that. That's his heavy shades. They're just beautiful. But I did want to stretch my talents and learn something new, pad my resume a bit. So I taught myself the color on the iPad, and I started writing as well. So I now write, color, and ink.
You can do your own comic from start to finish.
I do. It's Divinity through Silverline, and it's an award winner. So I love it.
I'm aware of that. I have a copy of it over here in this stack of stuff that I don't have a box for yet.
That's coming. The next Kickstarter is issue 3. So we're here to talk about this Kickstarter though. So
well, now I've got to take my fancy little border away here because Pops.
Hi Pops.
I was getting ready to read your comments, and now here you are in the stream. So I'm not going to read it, but I will read Frog G's, who's kindly put the link out there in the chat for us to point to the extravaganza. Also, JV says that these kind of streams are better on private Discords. Then it's just me talking. What's the point of that? No point. Pops, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Nobody can hear you, Pops.
Your mouth is moving and nothing's coming out.
I said Discord's just a hacker's dream. Don't get all caught up in Discord.
Oh, no,
there's no security in Discord whatsoever, man. They can crawl right up into your stuff, man. Stay out of there. Jeez.
Well, they call it Discord for a reason.
I mean, that's, I know a lot of people that have had really bad backdoor action come through the Discord DM groups. So,
oh, really? It's that easy to hack? Wow.
Apparently.
That's good to know.
I'm in 2, and one of them is Midjourney.
I'm on the Silverline Discord, so
Well, there you go. It's like a private club. You control who comes in.
Yeah,
and you don't have as much of a problem.
All it takes is one bad apple.
Well, it's basically just to wrangle our huge horde of creators. We've got over 24 creators. I haven't even looked lately at how many we've got.
Yes, you guys have a herd. Yes.
We have a herd. Hey, that's a good word. It's a herd. It's like herding cats.
Noun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm also the CFO of Silverline, so it's definitely like herding cats.
Oh no! Now you got to take care of the money. That's no longer. Well, I was gonna say if you get creative with that, that's not as good as being creative with the stories and the art.
No creative financing. You
See, the
you
deal-
do federal time over that.
The deal with Silverline was when Roland decided to start it up again. This is Silverline 3.0.
Mhm.
His BJ, his wonderful wife, said, "That's fine, but you're not doing everything yourself this time because it's too much." So it started out as Dean Zachary, Roland, and myself, and started
Now
bringing on some old Malibu people. And we said, "Do you have anything else that you bring? Any other talents that you bring to the table?" I said, "Well, I spent 20 years as a corporate accountant." You're like, "Fine, you're the CFO." That's how I
Now,
got the
if
job.
you take that into perspective, though, how long ago that was, there was no social media.
No. Mm-mm.
So that was before Roland had to take on all that too. He still, and his wife was like, "No, this is too much." Can
Right.
you imagine if he tried to do it now and do it all himself? RJ, some of this stuff you just can't do without people's help. You
And
just
BJ
can't.
takes a huge chunk of the social media stuff on her own shoulders. So
Mhm.
she's the CEO, and I'm the CFO. And Roland is the head editor. So, and we've got other people on the team that do other things.
I wanted to pop in and say hi to Barb because I
Well,
haven't seen her
hi,
since
Pops.
TromCon before last, I
I
think.
know.
But yeah, I've been in talks with Roland behind the scenes about doing a little something on the network. You know what I'm talking about. So, I just wanted to say hi. And earlier this evening, we had our 100th Monday Madness episode.
Wow.
Wait a second now. You had your 100th Monday Madness. You just got 2,500 subscribers. How many milestones are you allowed to hit in 1 week?
2,500 members in the comic related madness.
Members,
I wish I had 2,500 subscribers. But yeah, it's like we're hitting some milestones. We're having fun. They announced today the organizers of the Soul City Comic Con down there in Augusta, Georgia, announced today on the Madness that I will be emceeing the show.
Awesome.
I will be taking the Madness on the road again to Georgia, and we will be emceeing the show. We'll be bringing some of our people. We'll be bringing Christy Shin from the West Coast all the way over to Georgia to set up a caps table and stuff. We're trying to help everybody expand, and so 100 episodes. I didn't even realize we were launching somebody's book, Jeremy Mace's Saving Mr. Creep. We were launching this book, and I didn't even freaking remember that it was our 100th show and never mentioned it. Our 100th Monday Madness. That's just that one show. We got
100 Mondays.
Yeah. And I don't think we missed one.
So you're almost 2 years of streaming.
Yeah, almost 2 years. Yeah.
I
It's
missed
52
one,
weeks
but
in a
I think
year.
the
So
co-hosts were there and kept the show going anyway, but I think we're 100 straight. And then of course 30 some straight crom cons, and we're not stopping. But
Good.
Go back to talking about Silverline Comics, and you guys have a great evening.
You too, Pops. Yep. Notice that's the Critical Blast Logistics hat. That's a subtly different brand there.
You might have to change your trailer to say that too, because it says your favorite podcast is Critical Blast, and I'm
that's
like,
the show. We're on Critical Blast podcast.
I know, but my favorite podcast is on the Madness.
Well, yeah, but it could be a podcast and it could be a show. So we are simulcasting right now on the Madness, which is what he's referring to. We do this Monday through Wednesday. I guess we're doing Monday through Thursday. unless we start to bump up on something with you.
And
we'll always give deference to other shows that you've got out there. But
no, I think you're good on Monday through Thursday. I'm giving you that 8 o'clock hour show.
Since we can spread it out, we will spread it out.
Yeah.
And just reach more people.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if your sub count's getting any hits from doing this the last week or two, but mine is.
Last time I looked at my subs a couple days ago, 1,992.
Well, right on. Come on, let's get him to 2,000 real quick, yo.
Almost to 2,000. We can do that.
Yeah, let's get him over. Let's give RJ something to celebrate.
That would be fun. I'm still counting down to. I'm almost to 1,000 shows.
Mm.
Wow.
I'm watching out for that. Yeah. We do this
Wow.
every night. Every night
Yeah,
for
they add up.
3 years.
I'm over 700 now, I think. So
I wouldn't know what to talk about for
but
1,000
then
shows.
you also got to consider that 120 or 130 of mine are 6-hour streams too. All the CromCon segments are
Yeah.
6-hour streams each.
Yep. And
I've pounded my head. You know what I did earlier, RJ? I knocked my big coffee mug all over my desk, my lap, the floor, everywhere.
okay, but
In
no
the show,
comics and computer.
in the show. It was horrible.
But it wasn't over comics and it wasn't over computer, so nothing of value was lost.
No, I was like real quick with grabbing dirty clothes or whatever was handy and mopping it up, man, because it was everywhere. It was horrible. But yeah, during the show, what a whole cup of coffee, like the big mug that I drink coffee out of.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
I've seen it.
It was horrible. You guys have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Give RJ your love. Give Silverline your love. You guys know what's up.
Absolutely. Do share this. Do share, not for me. Share this so that Barb can be seen by more people and that Silverline can sell more books.
I'm
That's
sorry
what
about
share.
that.
So the fans know what's going on at Silverline.
That's right. We're up and coming.
Well,
We're going to take it over.
Let's go back. Oh, we're at the drive-in now. Okay.
Oh,
So,
cool.
Pops told me that my black background was boring, and obviously I don't have one designed for 3 people yet, so we were back to black.
I still haven't figured out how to put a background on mine. You can see part of my studio behind me here, so
Oh,
pretty
yeah. Oh,
boring.
you're talking about like behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to buy a green screen, and you got to set that up, and it's not worth the effort,
No.
really. It's not.
No.
Overlays like this are just fine. Something to distract the eyeball from that. But one of the things you said when you got the equipment, you got the digital art equipment, was that you taught yourself coloring.
Mhm.
Is that possible? I mean, did you not go to other colorists that you know and say, hey, what do I need to know? Or did you already have like color theory and stuff down that?
Well, I mean, I've been in the comics industry for 30 years, so I've kind of soaked in some of the basics, just from doing comics and reading comics. But no, I really didn't. I sat down and started playing with Procreate, which is a $10 app. The expensive thing is the outlay for the iPad. I have an iPad Pro. And I just did some online tutorials and started off. I'd been doing it for 2 weeks when I showed my first sample to Roland, and he goes, "Here's Sirens, start coloring it."
So this is fresh stuff then.
The Sirens, yeah, this is the first book I've ever colored. After issue number 1 of Divinity, I took over the coloring duties on that as well. So I'm coloring 2 books. I'm inking 2 books, Cat and Mouse and my own Divinity. And I'm writing 1 book, which is Divinity. But Sirens was my first one out of the gate for coloring. And it's been a blast. It's been a learning experience. And you can kind of see my progression as the books go along. But right out of the gate, I kind of had a handle on it. I have to say, too, that I also took advertising design in college. So I wasn't completely newbie, but still, that was 40 years ago.
You knew not to put stripes with plaids. You knew that green and brown don't go together. All that good stuff.
I got the color wheel. These are complementary. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it was just learning.
Purple and yellow. That's the best.
It was just learning the special effects and stuff that you could do with a digital brush. You could add so many cool effects and stuff. That was just learning on tutorials. YouTube. I went to the College of YouTube. So and
been
you
there.
can learn anything there.
Yeah, the first digital brush I saw that was more than just like drawing lines of different width was a chain brush, and there was like they drew it, and it just was like leaving links of chain behind it, interconnected. I'm like, and it's like not broken, it doesn't twist. It's like you could draw Spawn in 5 minutes now.
Oh, that's awesome! I should look into one of those. I have stamps, which is silhouettes, basically. I have stamps of trees and plants. the thing about those is that you can do these stamps and then do a clipping mask and color them. So even if it
Sure.
starts out black and white, you can color them anything you want. But you've got these beautiful trees, and it's makes it quicker. And if you're up against a deadline, any shortcut is
Yeah.
valid.
It's
You
it's
know,
okay to copy. It's okay to trace. It's okay to cut and paste. It's
I have been known to trace occasionally, and that, I know that's blasphemy coming from an inker. But if you've got a page and you've got a car there, and the penciler hasn't really put any much detail in it, hell, I'll grab a Corvette or whatever off the internet and lay it underneath and
yeah,
trace that, because why not?
exactly.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly. Get the job done. That's the thing. This isn't you're not selling a painting to somebody. You're trying to get a story told. Um, we have Mike Walters in the chat has jumped in to share the live stream. Thank you, Mike. That's exactly what we were asking people to do earlier. And Hyper Potato is here. We said we have secret glimpses into the studio. Now let's see some
Hi,
art.
Hyper Potato.
So,
He
do
pops
you-
in from the Silverline every once in a while.
okay. That's where he spudding out from there.
Mhm.
So to show art, I guess I'm going to have to take this down again and add this to the stream so we can start looking at the campaign itself. And folks, while we're looking at the campaign, the link for it right now, if you're live with us, it's in the chat. But if you're catching us on the replay, it's also below the video. That's where it is instantiated permanently. So you can always click it at any time. The video will continue playing. You won't interrupt anything. Get over there and check out what Silverline has to offer, because there's 4 books in this one.
There is
Right.
4 books. That is correct. We have 2 of the original Silverline books, which is Twilight Grim number 4, which is the 4th book of 4. Kalis, we had already gone through the first 4 issue minis, floppies for the miniseries and for storyline. And we're starting on the second storyline for Kalis, and that's called Kalis Achilles Has Landed. Issue number 2 of the Sirens remix, and issue number 1 of the Scary Book remix. Now, I can see people saying, well, this Kickstarter, I mean, you're getting a book that is issue number 4 of something that I don't know anything about. Well, the good thing about Kickstarter these days is something that they have added in the last year is you can go back while you're when you're pledging. During the pledge, you can add on previous issues. So say you are pledging to buy Twilight Grim number 4. After you pledge to buy that, you can also add on 1 through 3 individually. So you can bring up the whole story. Or you can actually add on any of the Silverline books. And if you scroll down way to the bottom of this whole thing, you'll see that we have a ton of books down there. Oh, Hyper
Yes.
Potato, yay!
Yes, you do have a ton of books down there. You have an entire library.
We do.
It is way
There,
down here. Look at all
there
these.
they are right there. And
Look at this. Let's see if I can still remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 33 titles just right here alone. I'm sure there's actually probably more than that. Well, you got the trades too.
The trades too.
So yeah, tons and tons of stuff. And yes, I've got Silverline books. I've got Silverline bracelets, just not on me at the moment. I think they're right behind me here.
You can also add on extras like, yes, I have a ton of those. I take them to all the shows I go to. You can add on original art. You can add on commissions. You can add on other books. We've just got all kinds of things. T-shirts. That's it. That's a brand new one. Is T-shirts.
Yes, the T-shirts look great. Are they down? No, they're further up. Further up. We're gonna have Rob Davis on.
Rob is amazing. He is so prolific. I swear to God, that man must turn out.
I gotta talk with him. Because
he's another old.
I met him at a convention when I was just a wee lad. No, I was just out of college. Lad. Yes, and he was doing Scimitar or Scimitar,
And
R.A. Jones.
yeah, and I had him draw me one. And I had a small collection of original artwork. And it's funny that the sample of the ones that showed stuff that had boobage, they all disappeared.
Oh.
And you know, my now ex-wife didn't know what happened to them. They were in that closet. They must still be in there. I don't know. We moved.
I have no problem admitting that I've done X-rated comics. You know, I used to work with Phil Folio on Xenophile.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I had two beautiful Lorene Haynes prints of Batgirl and Rogue, not together, two separate pictures. But you know, they were just prints, so they weren't like original art. But anyway, yeah, my Scimitar picture was one of them. And poor Rob, he was having a day at the con because it's like I showed up and I was getting my picture that I'd commissioned. I came back and he showed it to me and he's like, "Here you go. This is yours, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He could tell I was like hesitant for a second. And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Well, I had actually requested, you know, the not safe for work when we didn't say that back then. It wasn't the phrase." He's like, "Oh," and he's like, "I just screwed up." Yeah, and he's like, "I just screwed up on this guy who didn't want a not safe for work one, and he got the nude one." I was like, "Well, why don't we just switch?" He's like, he was ready to redraw two pictures. I'm like, "You've done them. Just swap them out." He's like, "You guys will do that?" I'm like, "Yeah." It was funny, and I could tell it was just the man was exhausted. It was the end of Chicago Comic-Con. Everybody was packing up to go home.
I remember those days. Yeah. Speaking of R.A. Jones, he's actually my co-scripter on Divinity.
Yes.
Like I said, I've been writing, but I am not an experienced comic book scripter. It takes a special skill to be able to write a good script where you say, all right, now we're panning down, we're looking down from above, and this is what's happening, or we're going to zoom into the face now. You have to have kind of a cinematic bent.
Yeah,
So
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got 5 novels under my belt, but I just recently wrote my first comic book story for an upcoming anthology, and it's like
it's a whole different breed of animal.
Every time I say it's only a 6-page story, I'm like, I'd have rather written 100,000 words, because every time I sat down to the script, I couldn't do it. I had to get like ruled paper out and just draw squares and stick figures. I'm like, okay, now I can translate this to script. I had to start with the pictures.
I've done 2 6-page scripts on my own, but for Divinity, I created it, I wrote it, but then I had to have help scripting it. So RA came on board and he co-scripts it with me, and he is amazing. Rob, he does everything, and he's helped fill in backgrounds for Divinity. He does Twilight Grim. He works on other books. He did my Divinity Christmas story. I don't know when the man sleeps. He's like Tommy Florimonte, the inker who never sleeps. He probably inks half the books for Silverline. So we've got quite the crew. A lot of us just started out at Malibu, and we kind of aged out. If anybody says that there's no ageism in comics, they're lying, because there's a plenty of very talented older artists out there who've never lost a step, but we can't get work.
It may have been the same Chicago convention or the one before or after, because I only went to 2 of them during that time period. Before Wizard, I think it was shortly after Wizard took them over. But I was at one of those Chicago cons, and you know how there's the con, and then there's the hallway, and then off the hallway there are these little rooms that, you know, people walk in, they see artwork hanging around, they walk out. I was tired. I kind of got shunted into one of those. I'm like, I'll just sit in here. It's kind of cooler in here. And as soon as I get in the door and I turn around, here's this huge, huge canvas painting of the Golden Age Green Lantern with this lovely little elderly couple sitting underneath of it. And I'm like, oh, they're here selling, you know, Golden Age stuff, old comics. No, that was Sheldon Moldoff and his wife. And as soon as I realized this, first thing, I had him sign my greatest Batman stories ever told, because I had it right there with me. And
DC was just starting to do another Justice Society miniseries. I was like, why aren't you're here? You're producing art. You're drawing stuff. Why are you not drawing this book? And his wife just kind of leaned in and said, would you go down to the DC table and tell them that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I will. And I did.
I worked steadily for about 12 years full time, and a lot of it was for DC. When the comics industry kind of imploded around 2000, you remember that?
Yeah.
The speculators boom or whatever it was they talk about. A lot of my fellow artists had to go out and find jobs in the real world, including me. And so I went down to doing this part-time, and you get out of the scene too much, and then it's like having to break in all over again. And if you're only as hot as your last project, it's just like Hollywood. So you're out of it for a couple of years. You try to come back in, and everybody's like, I don't know who you are. So there's more than me. There's a lot of comic book artists out there that are like that. And a few of us just started getting together and saying, well, you know what? Let's just screw it. Let's just make our own books. And we came back in, I should say, at just the perfect time, because I really honestly think this is the age of the indies.
It is.
I mean,
this is the Renaissance.
DC and Marvel are turning out the same old schlock as they have for the last 50 years.
And cold and worse.
Right. And they're steadily losing customers. If you want to see something that's not looked over by a corporate bean counter and say, oh, no, we can't do that, then you're going to want to look at indie comics, because that's the wild, wild west of comics.
It is.
I'm thankful
so much
for
stuff is
Silverline
happening
to get new material for longtime favorites. Plus, they introduced me to new talent like Pete Clinton. Oh yeah, our English buddy.
So here's the question that nobody asks you.
Okay.
Because everyone's going to ask you about coloring and about inking and about writing the book. But you've made a confession, and now we're going to follow up with it.
Okay.
As the CFO of
Mhm.
Silverline, how are you guys doing? Are you going to be around for a while?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Yep.
it. No
We
big
have-
audit question there, but
We have plans in the works. There's lots of talking behind the scenes. We're in this for the long haul.
because I know that Rollins talked before about how it was a struggle with Silverline 1.0, and he kind of tried to do 2.0, and it just kind of faltered because
Well, it's because
Money.
he was trying to do it all by himself, and it's not something that you can do just by yourself. This time when he came on a board for 3.0, he says, I am not doing this unless I have help this time. And a lot of us have stepped up. We've got, this person does the art direction. This is a guy does media. We've got interns who will look over scripts. We've got another guy who's a proofreader. I'm doing the CFO, and BJ's doing a lot of the social media stuff. It's not all on one man. So we've got between all of us, we've got hundreds of years of experience. I mean, just Rob and I ourselves have got over 60 years between the two of us. They bring Roland on, and there's over 90 years. So
True.
There's a
Very
lot
true.
of very experienced people working behind the scenes.
I
One
just
way or
looked
the
up
other.
all your DC stuff because I'm like, I know her name from DC. What does she do? And I was like looking at they have your page, Barb Kaalberg, inker, and they brought covers up. I was like, DC 1 million, but that must be a really old picture because that's that's a cute young girl right there. And DC 1 million was just, oh crap, it was that far ago, wasn't it? Because for me, DC 1 million was like last year before.
Yes, I know what you mean. That's Impulse, right?
Yeah, you did
Yes,
it was collected in the omnibus, but you also did Impulse. You did some of the Superman titles. You did
I
a Green
spent
Lantern
2.5
title.
years on Impulse.
Yeah. Was
Over
that
Craig
on
Rousseau.
Reynolds?
I spent 2 years with Craig Rousseau and 6 months with Ethan Van Sciver. I've done Green
Did
Lantern.
Impulse? I did not know that. I know he did Flash and Green Lantern, but I didn't
He
know he
started
did.
on Impulse. That was his first DC gig.
Well, everybody, go tell EVS that we found him out.
I've done Hawkman with Howard Porter and several different Green Lanterns. I did some Superman. I did all the runs of Primal Force.
Yep.
So yeah, I've kind of lost. Oh, I did some Wonder Woman, some Mr. Miracle. So yeah, I've kind of lost track. I've done something like over 200 books. So I know my bibliography is on the Silverline page, silverlinecomics.com. If you look up my creator underneath there, it's got my entire bibliography, and it takes you a while to read it. It covers 4 pages, small type on a typewritten page. So.
Oh wow, quite a body of work to have left here at those different companies. Where was I going with this? I had a thought, and now it's why I wear
Age
the
is
hat.
hell, isn't it?
Yeah, don't get old, Barb. It sucks.
I'm older than you.
Not by much. I'm 55. Had something to do with Silverline books. Oh, is the only marketing model for Silverline the crowdfunding model, or do you guys have like a retail model aftermarket sort of thing?
At the moment, it's just the crowdfunding, but we're talking about other plans.
Yeah, you get hooked up with the distributor, you've got inventory.
Mm-hmm. Like we've got too many books. I mean, that's why we have 4 books that are kickstarting on Silverline here, is because we just have so many books. We wouldn't even be able to sell all of our big books if we did 1 Kickstarter a month per book.
Yeah.
There's just too many titles now. So as you can see,
Wonderful
I mean, we
problem to have.
certainly wouldn't turn down a sugar daddy if anybody wants to volunteer to come in as a silent partner. So anybody out there that's listening and you want to jump on the bandwagon, get a hold of Roland. We'll definitely take a silent partner.
Some distribution. It's not the same kind of distribution that I do, but maybe when my thing grows to that level, then we can talk. I'll call Roland.
Yeah, the problem with Diamond is that they are not that there's nothing wrong with Diamond, but they're not very enthusiastic about carrying the very small indies.
You might want to call them up again, because they're kind of not having much of a choice now. I mean, we just saw an article last month where they said, "Hey, we're giving the bonuses and promotion that we used to give to the big boys. We're going to give them to you too." I'm like, well, yeah, it's like promotion by attrition. The big boys left you.
Yes.
So yeah, you can go ahead and do that for Boom Studio, what you used to do for DC.
But it's still quite a chunk of change that they take. So
It is.
we're talking about it. There might be other choices too. I mean, I heard Luna is looking as well, so to expand their distribution.
Well, and Lunar's parent company, Universal Distribution, that's out of Canada, and DC has pretty much said, "Hey, we're working for your child here. Why don't we work? Why don't you work with us globally?"
Mm-hmm.
So
I miss Capital City Distribution. That would have been
I miss
awesome.
them. I miss Friendly Franks. Yeah, I remember the days when you could order from whoever was local to you. I've told the story many times. I grew up in Sparta, Illinois, so I didn't have to find a comic shop. I just had to find somebody who worked at the printing plant.
That's right. And see, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, which is the home of Capital City Distribution, or was.
Yeah.
And I used to go to all of their retailer expos because I was a cheap date. I was a local. So I'd go, and I actually remember meeting Jeff Smith for the very first time, sitting at a little card table at the retailer expo, trying to push this little book called Bone.
Yeah. A little guy with no detail.
Yeah. Then that was wild. But yeah, I used to, the owners of Capital City Distribution are fantastic people. I sure wish they could have hung in there, because they were a lot of fun.
Well, I think that era is coming back slowly. I think people started, I mean, we're doing it. We're doing it for crowdfunders and campaigns. So, we're taking care of the shipping and the distribution for the campaigns. And then we're at a point where I'm like, if you got overstock, I am, promoting the overstock to retailers at retailer prices.
Yeah. We
You,
have
you might
on this current Kickstarter, if you take a look at the pledge levels, you will find a retailer pack,
I love
which
those.
is at a discounted price, the retailer
There.
tier.
And that's 5 to 10 copies at $4 a copy. Plus, wow, this is very detailed. So it's not just get 10 copies and it's this. It's you have to adjust your pledge on this, but this works. $3 per copy if you get 30 or more copies. Yeah, that's great. That is what we need more of.
Mm-hmm. So any retailers out there that are interested in carrying Silverline product, we do the retailer tier for every Kickstarter. And let me tell you, you're getting it basically at cost. So we just want to get it into the stores.
So what is going on then? Because we're covering the entire launch, but we're also going to focus just a little bit on Sirens, which is where you're at. I know you didn't write it, but you're the person who's here.
Oh no, but I've been coloring for 2 issues, so I read it as I go.
You got to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the story, and maybe I'm speaking from false authority here, so I can't really say that this is true, but I would expect that the story would drive the tone of the coloring and what palette you choose.
It does. It takes place in New Orleans, one of my favorite cities.
Yes.
And it's deals with voodoo. Hello. I was reading the comments. It takes place in New Orleans and deals with voodoo. And Jeff, he's an uptight corporate dude, and he's bummed out. And then he runs into this lovely, lovely lady named Lois, and they have this whirlwind romance. And he falls in love with her. Then all of a sudden, she disappears. So he starts investigating and tracking her down, and it mixes him up in the world of voodoo. And he turns out that she's a loup-garou, which is a shapeshifter. She can shapeshift into this weird-looking monster. And he runs into zombies and priests and voodoo, and he gets cursed. So he's starting to turn into a zombie. And you can see in the one picture right there where he's looking into the mirror, his Shep, his zombie buddy, is standing in the background, and he's looking at his face and says, "Oh no, he's starting to turn into a zombie." So the basis of the story is him trying to find a way to break not only his curse, but the curse of the loup-garou on the love of his life, Lois. And all behind this is a devious, evil woman who has found immortality by bathing in blood.
Ooh, Elizabeth Bathory?
Yeah, something like that.
So this sounds like a very long, sprawling, epic story.
It's
is this going to wrap up in 4? Or
yeah, it will.
Okay.
And the thing about people have asked us, well, why aren't you going to Indiegogo? Why do you stick with Kickstarter? Well, Indiegogo has a tendency to lean heavily towards graphic novels. So we have our storylines go in arcs of 4 issues so that we can then condense them and go to Indiegogo with a graphic novel, which is what's going to happen with Sirens here once we reach the end of the 4 issues.
They both have their audiences.
Yes, exactly. They both have their niches, and so we start on Kickstarter and we end up in Indiegogo, and our ultimate goal, obviously, is to get into stores.
Yes, and that's going to happen. I think stores are going to start finding they have the opposite problem that they had with Marvel in the 90s. And that was where anytime an indie comic got canceled in the 90s, Marvel put out a new title. Hey, fill that spot. Spot. Crowd it out. Now I think it's attrition.
Look at the amazing indies that have hit the big time, like The Boys or Walking Dead, and She and Lady Death. I mean, those are stuff that Marvel or DC probably wouldn't touch because they're a little bit too edgy for their corporate overlords.
Right.
And somebody asked me the other day if I would ever go back to Marvel or DC if they came knocking. And I says, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said yes. Now, no, I will never go back. I love the wild, wild west of the indies. I love the freedom that we have. We answer to no one but ourselves. And you can find almost anything for any taste out there.
You really
Silverline,
can.
yeah, Silverline has we keep it PG, but we do have some pretty edgy. I mean, I did have to. This is a remix. Sirens is a remix, so I did have to go into a few panels and add some tasteful blacks to certain areas because we
There's
are
some
trying.
heavy black I was talking about. That's my new industry term. My friend Mike Tierney is on our LCS guys show, and he was the first graphic novel published by Ingram Spark. He was the one who was guiding them through the process. And he, being a journeyman printer himself, he asked them on the phone in the conference meeting, do you have any problem printing heavy blacks? He said, and there was this pause that went on for an uncomfortable length until finally an intern spoke up and says, I think he means large areas of black ink. They're like, oh, yeah. Yeah, no problem for that.
Yeah,
because they were just text before. They didn't know what that term meant in printing. It was, new. So naturally they had a different image in their minds, like
all kinds of PC stuff going through their heads.
Yes.
Yeah, we have some beautiful, beautiful T-shirts available too. And the funny thing about that is that when Roland says we're going to sell T-shirts, and the first thing, instead of my artistic brain kicking in and saying yeah, my right brain kicked in and said, "Are we buying those up front?" He goes, "No. These are print on demand." I'm like, "Okay."
And I love the design on them too. I mean, and by that I mean I love the consistency of the design across the board, because they all seem to have this like circular graphic with the character in the front. And most important of all you crowdfunders who want to put your character on a T-shirt and put it in your campaign, the name of the book. Because
and the company,
and the company's good too. But if somebody just sees your cool picture and they're like, dang, that guy had a cool picture on his shirt, don't know who that is, I'll look at Walmart and see if I can find that shirt, and they're never going to find it. You know what they can't do? They can't Google the picture of your shirt. They can Google your title and find out, oh, this is a crowdfunded campaign with a comic book behind it. Check that out.
So my poor little left brain, right brain self was going, my left side was going, oh, I want Divinity on a comic shirt. And my right brain was, can we afford it? So I was having a fight with myself. Very split brain.
Congratulations, you're a grown up now, Barb.
Yes.
I'm still at the point, I look in PayPal, I'm like, I got $100 in PayPal, I'm not doing anything. Look for some patches, and then I'll go buy some hats, and then I'll take them to the iron and sewing shop. And that way, rather than spending $25 on an embroidered hat, I can spend $35 and make them homemade. Wait. Because by the time it all added up, $10 per patch, $3 a hat, $10 for sewing.
I have a lot of the same problem. Is that, oh, you know what? I have enough money now. I'm going to upgrade my booth stuff. So I end up buying a brand new banner. Why did I have to buy a brand new banner? Well, because it looks cool.
I got a denim jacket that's got all these patches that people have been sending me, and I go to the same store, and nice lady there who takes care of all these motorcycle gang jackets. I say gangs, they're motorcycle riders jackets, they're clubs. She sews them on for me, and I came in, I've got 6 DC figural patches. I've got Batman and Superman, standing. I've got Flash and Green Lantern. I've got Batgirl and Supergirl. And she's like, looks at him and says, okay, I'll do them for $25 a piece if you bring them all in at once. Like $150. Okay, when I have that, I'll bring it in. I'm like looking at my debit card that I put money into. I'm like, I got $180 in there. I bet I could go do that this week. And then I go to work this morning, and I stop for my breakfast. I get back in the car, and it's click, 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 click.
Uh-oh.
and I spend $160 on a battery that I did not intend to be buying. So, guys, we have super chats available. This is your.
Yes.
Now, I've never begged for super chats, and I never will. If you do it, great. I don't care. I do care, but I don't care. If you know what I mean. You did mention, of course, that they have commission art from
I do,
Rob
yeah,
David.
commissions. And he does wonderful. He actually did Star Trek for DC several years ago, and his characterizations of the real life people that on those TV shows was spot on. So I see he's got Bond.
Very few people
James
can do
Bond.
that.
So
that's not Bond. That's Doctor Who.
Is it? I can't see it. It's too small on my
Yeah,
screen. Oh, Doctor Who? Okay.
Yeah, that's Eccleston's Doctor Who.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yes, I see that now.
But very few people can draw comics based on a franchise that's live action, because it loses the dynamic action. It loses the fluidity of a comic, because they're looking at portraits, and they're drawing portraits. They're not drawing comic book characters, and it shows. It becomes a lifeless pose otherwise, and that's I've seen that really stand out when a live person, a real life person, invades a comic book world. So like when Superman died and Bill Clinton was there presiding over the funeral.
Yes.
You
I
could
remember
tell
that.
the people standing next to Bill Clinton looked like comic book characters, and Bill Clinton looked like Bill Clinton. You might as well have just cut him out of a photo and slapped him in there.
That's right.
It doesn't work well.
We have original art for sale. You can scroll through and see some of the pieces. Some really
Sirens
nice
number 2
pieces.
here by Rob.
Yeah, the cover right below that that one right there on the left-hand side with the big head in the back. I inked that one, but I inked it digitally, so I couldn't give the original art. But I inked and colored that cover. So he gave up the pencils for it.
So the big head in the back, is that the big bad protagonist?
That's one of the Loop Grooves.
Oh, okay.
We've got Shep the zombie in the background, and we have Jeff Delmar here in the front.
And all the books have some original art pages available.
Mhm.
I'm kind of is the cover for cover B, is that new artwork?
Mhm.
Okay, because obviously the interiors are
Old.
you're remastering the old stuff.
We have 3 variant covers, and one of the covers is the original artwork from way back when, and then the 2 covers are new.
Because I was going to ask, if the interior pages were also available as original art, but you probably had to remaster from scans or something, I guess.
Yes, and we have this wonderful production assistant, otherwise known as my hubby, this Silverline production assistant that cleans all of this art. When it's scanned in from old artwork, it's all got to be cleaned.
Yeah.
And that's a long and tedious process.
You got to lose the color of the paper.
Yes. Because we're scanning them from the original black and white books.
Right.
So they're kind of dirty, if you know what I mean. It's the pages that
The
when
page
you
is
scan
yellow.
it. Yeah.
Newsprint.
And it's got little bits and pieces all over it. So it's a laborious process to clean those up and make them bright and sharp again. And my husband, Dick, has taken on that task for Silverline. So you'll see his name in the credits too. He's a production assistant.
Good. Now I know what a production assistant does.
Yeah, he stays out of my hair. That's what. No, he's awesome.
Here, I got it all cleaned up. Slop it up with some ink now.
Yeah. Send it back to Roland is what he does. And then Roland does something with it. Yeah, either gives it to me or somebody else.
It's got to go through the process. I guess the one thing you don't have to worry about, though, is editing on those books, because that's been done.
They've been done.
So, normally I talk about how important it is to have an editor. But this time, not so much. We talked about the add-ons, which are all, right? That's not, okay, that's just an image. Oh, it's a video. Anyway, yeah, all the books are available as add-ons, folks. Once you do a physical pledge, there is, of course, the PDF tier. If you are a digital-only person, it's in here somewhere. I know because I saw it.
Yes,
You can find it.
it's the second tier down, I believe. The first
There's
one was
Twilight Graham.
the first one was the Extravaganza, and
Yep,
the second one is $10 or more. You can get a digital of one of the comics, and then $20 will get you a digital of all three of them,
there
or
it
all
is.
four of them.
Yeah, so anytime you get the physical of a single, you'll also get the digital of it.
That's
If
correct.
you just want the digital, right there, $20 for all four in digital format, and of course, you'll get your name on the thank you page in the comic for being a backer, which is like being a producer. Oh, we have an actual question in the chat now. Hyper Potato would like to know how differently does Silverline work versus Barb's previous experience with having the book essentially in the can before launching?
Well, for one thing, we only have a month turnaround, or a month and a half at the most, because we're ready. All of our books are done before we kickstart. The only thing that's left is a thank you page. Whereas the way I used to do it back in the old days is it was an assembly line process. I was the second one first the writer, and then you have the editor to edit the script. Then it would go to the penciler. And sometimes it would go to the letterer first, but other times it would go to me next. And then to the letterer, then to the colorist, then back to the editor.
I said, doesn't go back to the editor at the penciling stage. I would think it'd be faster to correct issues.
It does. He sees it after every stage, basically.
Okay.
He would get the pencils from the penciler, and he would go through them, make notes on them if anything needed changes, and then send them to me. But it's a long process. So if you're going to see, you probably want to start 6 months in advance to seeing something. And if anything gets bogged down somewhere, then it was either going to be late or was up to the rest of the team to try to make up time. If we had a penciler that was very slow, then it was up to the rest of the team, the inker, the colorists, to try to cut some of their own time off to pick up the slack. And there was a lot of different times that
we call that what stages can be crashed in project management.
Right. And if it was really, really, really super late, then the editor would get pissed off and split it up.
Yep.
So,
or have a fill-in issue. I was going somewhere with that now too, and doggone it, these thoughts are like beads of mercury. Every time I put my finger on one, it just slips away. The important thing is that what Silverline's got is a team, and that's what the mainstream has, which is why they put out monthly books. I had Carl Kiesel on several months back with his project, and I was like, look, you've worked for the big boys. Your artist has worked for the big boys. You guys had to produce something every month.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? Why is it not coming out every month? And the fact of the matter is that they're doing all the jobs, and there's not the assembly line process anymore.
That's right.
The team aspect just isn't there for so much of this crowdfunded.
That's correct. The upside is that we all love what we're doing, and it shows in our work. And we're a family, basically, under one umbrella. We're having fun while we're doing it. The downside is that we can't schedule when each issue of what is going to drop. It drops when it's done. Hopefully that gets better with time. But for right now, most everybody, not myself, most everybody else has a day job. I'm retired, so I can do what I want.
Yeah, Roland explained that whole scheduling issue, because I told him, here's how you bring all your titles into one universe. And I gave him his crisis. He's like, yeah, but we can't coordinate the titles to all launch at the same time. Like, oh.
Yes. When I worked for DC and Marvel, one of the things that I was known for was I never missed a deadline. Not ever. So I mean, in 12 years of working full time as a comic book artist, I was doing 2 issues a month, plus covers, plus trading cards, and I never once missed a single deadline. Sometimes that really was hard on me because I would have to pull 16-hour days sometimes in order to catch stuff up. But I did it. And that was one of the reasons why I consistently got work. I wasn't the best inker in the industry. I was a good inker, but I was reliable.
Exactly. And that's more important to an editor than having, the next Michelangelo or Stephen King in the writing and art department. Uh, can you tell the story serviceably? Can you get it done on time?
Mm-hmm.
I will go to you first with stuff.
And what else a lot of people don't understand, a lot of new comic artists that come in, is that comics is also a business.
Yeah.
So you have to treat it like a business. They have to divorce the artistic mindset and embrace at certain points of time the business mindset. I once had a penciler way back when, really late, super late. So I called him up and I said, "Hey, where are my pages? You are 3 weeks behind." He was like, "Oh, I'm just not feeling the art." I'm like, "I don't care if you're feeling it or not. Get them done."
You can tell us that was Ethan, right?
No, it wasn't Ethan. It was somebody else.
He doesn't watch. He sometimes watches this show, but I'm sure he's not watching.
Ethan was always on time, and he was great to work with.
I like his shows. I like his work. He gets a lot of ribbing right now for the lateness, but again, it's a one-man show.
No, it's difficult to do everything by yourself. There was something. She's a great inker. Barb is selling herself.
She did Adventure Comics. That's right. Now, was that the when I think of Adventure Comics, I'm remembering the days when it was it was Starman, Prince Gavin, and Plastic Man, 2 different stories in Adventure Comics.
Adventure Comics was a subdivision of Malibu, and I did.
I was thinking of DC's Adventure Comics.
I did. Well, there was always that Adventure Comics too. I did Planet of the Apes for Adventure Comics. I did 11 issues of Planet of the Apes. That was my first inking job for Malibu. I lied my way into that job. So,
So many people have.
I know.
I talked with Lou Scheimer before he passed. Filmation's Lou Scheimer, and people have heard the story when Elliot S. Magan was coming by to look for an animation studio to do the Superman shorts. They panicked because they didn't have anybody. They were just starting out and they were wanting the contract. They put a mannequin at the receptionist desk and they hired actors to sit in the desks and look busy. and one of the actors was Ted Knight.
Oh my goodness.
So they're like, Lou had told him, he's like, when we bring Elliot by, when he stops, you come up to me and say, "Lou, we're running out of whatever, something or other." And he's like, "Got it." And when Elliot came in, he went through there so quickly, just looking at all the stuff that Ted didn't get to say his line. So he chased them down, going, "Oh, Lou," because he wanted to do the job.
He wanted to do the job. I was first hired to do gray washes on black and white. I think it was Tiger X for Eternity Comics. And it was either Chris Alm or Tom Mason who hired me. And they asked me, "Can you do gray washes?" I'm like, "Oh, sure. Piece of cake." I didn't even know what it was.
And to look it up after that.
Yeah. I as soon as this was in San Diego Comic-Con. As soon as I got off the plane, I went to the library and checked out books on watercolor and did gray washes. I ended up doing okay. They kept hiring me, and then they finally gave me a crack at inking, and I took off. So, yeah. So I lied my way into my first job, but that's what you got to do. You got to be, you got to have a little chutzpah,
Well, we call that fake it until you make it, boys and girls.
That's right.
And I've done it on more than one job of more than one variety in my life, and probably not over yet.
I usually learn on the run. I'm very good at it.
It's like learning how to swim. How do you do it? Get thrown in the water and make your way.
Start paddling.
Yeah, exactly. Charles, I'll tell you what's up. we're past the top of the hour and we're closing down.
Yeah.
So, but this was fun. I was, I'll be honest. I'm going to be talking to the colorist. How much questions can how much I write for a living? How many questions can I ask about coloring a book? But fortunately, there was so much more to talk about because you do so much more than color the book now. It's like, oh, this is great. she's got other talents that we can throw in here. And
I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that we could probably Bartholomew Cubbins our way through another hour if we
Probably. I have a lot of stories. I have 30 years worth of stories too. So
does Silverline have a podcast?
we have podcasts on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and I'm on the Wednesday Wham.
Okay, so if you want to hear those stories, boys and girls, tune into the Silverline podcast on Wednesdays. Go find their channel. Frog G's gone. He had to leave. Otherwise, he would probably have that link and throw it up there. Probably linked off silverlinecomics.com, though, I would imagine.
It is.
Okay, silverlinecomics.com.
And we have a Facebook page too. And we stream to the Facebook page.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
look up Silverline Comics on Facebook and you will find the podcast there. And we're also on YouTube, Twitch, and now we are also on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Well, Barb, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight and talking about Silverline Comics and where they're going and instilling confidence in me that they're going to be around for a good long while.
Well, unless the end of the world happens first, but yes.
Yeah. What are the odds?
What are the odds? No, we just jinxed ourselves. Okay, it was very much a pleasure to be on.
And Hyper Potato is already there. He already knows about the
Sunday. Yep, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. We do the West Coast on Tuesday nights, and Roland does Sunday nights, and Dean, Zachary, and I do Wednesdays. So join us. You never know what we're going to talk about, and I have a potty mouth, so I'm usually the one getting yelled at. So,
yeah. Well, I toned it down tonight because I didn't know how the conversation should go.
I didn't know if this was a rated show or not.
It's on YouTube. It's again Wild West podcasting.
Right. I got us kicked off of YouTube
regulated.
once, so
Well, yeah.
I had gotten kicked off. I mentioned demon sex, and we were off.
Oh, look. Oh, no, we're still up. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We don't have a show without you. We're just a podcast falling in the woods otherwise. And, of course, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night, everybody.
Please pledge.